Hello and welcome to the ICATS video series on setting up the RDS Teacher Module Gradebook for new users. I'm your host, Jared Gleim, and I'm the ICATS educator that works with your building tech coordinator, who is your support person for teachers in your building with RDS Gradebook. This particular video is meant for high school teachers. So if you're an elementary school teacher or a middle school teacher, please back out of this video and choose the appropriate link for your current situation to learn more about your course setup. In this third segment for high school teachers, we're going to see how to take the grading scales we created and apply it in our course setup menu. And by the way, if you're still seeing this pop-up window telling you something about grading scales, that window will go away once we are finished putting in the settings in the course setup. So let's go ahead and get started. And we'll get started by clicking OK on that menu to get rid of it. And I'm going to first click View Edit, come down to Course Setup and click. Okay, so here's our course setup menu. Now there's actually three parts to this menu, and it may not be so noticeable because this is a menu bar right here. Okay, so if you click Grade Period Total, Semester Total, and Drop Scores, these are the three tabs. For some reason they don't show as being separate tabs, but you got to make sure that you definitely do stuff in the Grading Period Total and Semester Total every school year when you get your gradebook set up. So let's start first in our Grading Period Total. First thing we need to do is assign a grading scale, and I'm going to first select my standard grading scale, and what I advise to make things go faster for you, choose the grading scale in your first class you do your course setup in, the grading scale that you're going to use in the most courses. So if I'm going to use my standard scale in all my classes, but I'm going to use my advanced scale in one class, go ahead right now and choose the standard in this particular class that we're in. We'll go back and we'll change the advanced class, and I'll show you how to do that here in just a little bit. Okay, so let's go ahead and do standard scale. Hello, and welcome to the ICATS video series on setting up the RDS Teacher Module Gradebook for new users. I'm your host, Jared Gleim, and I am the ICATS educator that works with your building tech coordinator, who is the support person for teachers in your building with RDS Gradebook. In this fourth segment, we're going to see how to create a brand new assignment, and we're also going to check out how to go back and change the settings on an existing assignment. And before we get started, if you're still seeing a pop-up window telling you something about grading scales right here, you need to go back and check out the video on course setup to get that fixed. So, if you're ready and you're not seeing that little pop-up window, let's go ahead and get started making some assignments. Okay, to create an assignment, we can go up here to View Edit and click on Assignments. And this menu will come up. Now, this is like you remember with course setup, there were some tabs. We have a description tab, which is this main screen that comes up by default. We also have standards, which we can apply and look at and add to our assignment. We also have notes. And by the way, this notes section is teacher notes for the assignment. Okay, and this, I believe, can be seen by the student. So it's not notes about a particular thing that only you want to be able to see about it. It's actually notes for the students to be able to see as well. So this will actually show up in their portal. So just always be aware of what you type and whether something is private or not. I don't believe this thing right here, this section right here, is private. So that would probably be helpful if you did type notes in there. If there's a lot of directions, if directions do not come with the assignment when they get it. So anyway. First thing we do, let's go back to the description tab, and the first thing we're going to do is choose from our drop-down on our categories. What kind of an assignment is this? Is it a homework assignment? Is it a quiz we're giving? Is it a test? Is it participation? You need to choose the category that goes along with this assignment. Okay, once we're done with that, we next come to the short description box. Now you must enter something in here in the short description. Just to warn you, the short description box is limited to 20 characters. Okay, so that includes numbers, letters, spaces, whatever. If it's entered in, 20 of them, it's going to fill up this description box. If for some reason you need more room, you still need to go ahead and type something in here that's short and descriptive, but then you can come down here to the long description box and type in what you want the long description to say. Now, as far as how long is the long description, I'm not really sure. I went ahead and typed in 4,000 characters, and it took them all. And I'm not sure if I could even do even more than that. It may be limitless. So, but you can go ahead. Now, remember, this will show up in the students' portal where they can actually view their grades. The long description will, so please make sure you don't type in pages on pages worth of directions in the long description. That's where the notes comes in. Okay, so once you've designated your description, I'm going to go ahead and come up with one here. I'm going to say I'm in U.S. history, and I'm going to have, let's say, a Civil War assignment on page 256. Okay, and I'm going to have questions 1 through 6. It looks like I ran out of room. So, I guess since I ran out of room, I'm going to put page 256, and I'm going to say on page 256, I'm going to have questions 1 through 6. And so that way my students, when they log on to their page for looking at the grades, they will see what the assignment is. So I've got that set up. Status. Do you want it for a grade or not for a grade? Now you might be thinking, well, what would I not do a grade for something? Sometimes you might put in, like if you got a field trip or you have something that, like I said, is not really worth anything, but you want to keep track of it, you can do it here in the gradebook. So if you got a field trip and you want to, not assign it for a grade, the permission slips being brought back, you can put not for grade and maybe make the points worth 1, and you can enter a 1 in for a kid if they've turned it in, and maybe put a 0 in if they haven't turned it in. So that's just an example of for grade and not for grade. Grading scale. Right now you see it says select a grade scale. And if you remember from my previous episode, U.S. History, I had it as advanced. So I choose the grading scale that I'm using for my course. Most likely you're probably going to use a standard grading scale depending upon what grading scale you're using for your course, so make sure you keep track of that. So I've got that done. Next is I need to enter in a number of points that I want this assignment worth. So I must do this. I'm going to have this worth 20 points. Extra credit. If you think that, possibly when you're going over the assignment or you might give some extra points, it's good to go ahead and maybe designate some points there. The kids may or may not, the kids won't be able to see this, but if it does come into play, you'll have that room where you can actually give more than 100%. Okay, and then the next section here on max score. I'm not going to go into max score, but do not check mark this box unless you know what you're doing. If you go to the ICATS RDS support page, down at the bottom where you see the handouts and videos section, there is a spot for max score. So hover your mouse over max score and it will actually describe for you what that is. I'm not going to go into it in this video, it takes too long. Okay, next thing we need to do is date assigned and the date due. This is good record keeping practice. That way, if a kid doesn't turn in an assignment, you have record of when you assigned it and when you expected it to be due. So that way, your parents will be understanding of how much notice their child actually had when you gave the assignment. So this is today's date for me right now. It's August 13th, 2010, and it's Friday. I'm going to go ahead and change the date for when it's due. I didn't have it due today. I'm going to have this for the weekend, and I expect it due on Monday the 16th. So when I save this assignment, it'll show up in my grade book, and my parents will be able to see it immediately at home. They'll know if their child has homework over the weekend or that night to do for the next day. Okay, scores for this assignment will be entered using one of these three options. You need to choose if you want to enter in just the raw points, like if I just want out of 20, I'm going to enter in, let's say, a student earned 16 points out of 20. Then I would type in 16 in the box. This is what raw score is. Of course, percentages will base it out of 100%, and you can also enter in your grades based on a letter grade. So you can just type in A, B, C, D, or F in the gradebook. And then sort order is by default. Normally we don't change this, unless you have to go back and backtrack after you've entered in a whole bunch of assignments and you want to change the order. Then you can go back in and configure this. I suggest not configure. Okay, so now we're going to go up and set some standards for our assignment. And we can either look at them by subject or by grade. I'm going to go ahead and leave it by subject here. I'm going to scroll down to Social Studies, since I'm in U.S. History. I'm going to hit the little triangles here on the side, and that when I hit that, it releases and shows what's beneath it on the next level. So I'm going to come down to U.S. History, hit the triangle. Now it shows me my standard categories. And I'm going to go ahead and hit the triangle for this particular category in Standard 1. And once I've found a standard that I want to put for this assignment, I just select it. And to apply it to the assignment, I click this little button right here on top. This puts it into the listing. And if let's say I put 1.4 over and I really don't want 1.4, I just select it and hit the back button. Okay, I'm going to do that again, and this time I'm also going to show you what happens when I hit the double. When the double back takes everything out. Okay, so I'm going to just use this one, and I could go back and I could do a lot more, but for the sake of this, I'm just going to go ahead and keep this one standard here. I'm going to click my notes, type in any notes that I want, blah blah blah, type those in, whatever you want, if you want to, strictly optional. The notes are optional, standards are optional. Description is where, mainly you need to make sure you definitely have this information filled out here. Standards are good, definitely shows that you're being guided by the standards in your instruction. Notes, definitely don't have to have notes, especially those teachers that give an assignment every day. That can be kind of daunting. So from the final screen, to close this out and to see our assignment, in the assignment screen, we click Save Done. And now we see our assignment. And if you remember back to the assignment categories when we configured those, I had homework be yellow. Okay? So that's why this is showing in yellow. When I hover my mouse over the assignment, I can also see the settings. I can see what the assignment name is. I can also see the scale that it uses is the advanced scale. So we're 20 points with 5 points extra credit. Now it does say 20 max score, but technically that's not being used. The max score option is not being used there, so don't be alarmed. Status is normal. The date it was assigned, the date it's due, and how it's being calculated. And I'm having it being calculated using raw points. Okay. Now if I want to add another assignment, I can either go up here to View Edit, come down to Assignments, or I can go a different way. I can actually double click right here in this white space, and it will bring up another assignment for me. Okay, so you can start entering in another assignment. Okay, so that's for new assignments. Now let's talk about how to edit an assignment. Okay, let me go back. Let me close this out. Right here from the main screen, you can double-click the assignment. And in the drop-down menu box here, you see that here's the assignment. And here's the description. I can go ahead and change the description if I want. I can change the grading scale generally is for the class, but definitely check that out. You can edit that. You can change the number of points you want there. So if I decide to change it to 30, it'll change it to 30. If I decide to change the due date, let's say, okay, so I assigned this over the weekend. I want it due on Monday. We get to Monday. Let's say we didn't have time to collect it, or I decided I was going to do some more with that assignment. I can change it to Tuesday. So, and then click Save Done. And then my settings are changed. You can also, by double-clicking, and let's say you have more than one assignment in your list. If you click here on the drop-down, you can see all the assignments in your list. There'll be a longer list here once you have more assignments in your gradebook. But you can easily switch assignments from the same menu screen. You can just click, like if I do decide to make a change here, and then I want to save it, but I want to stay in this menu because I want to go back and change some other assignments, I can just click Save there, go up to my drop down, choose the next assignment that I want to edit, come in, make my changes, click Save, or if I'm done, click Save Done. So that is the conclusion of this tutorial on creating new assignments. Be sure to check back to this website for more tutorials to help you get the most out of your gradebook.